Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alright guys, welcome back to the Mali Mission Podcast. This is episode 18 with your host Farhan Rana. Really excited to be back with you guys again, like I always am. We're going to be talking about a really good topic today. But just before we get started, like I do every time, I want to give out my free 7-day workout plan. It has for every day, you know exactly what you're going to be doing, the workouts, the sets, the reps, even like the rest times. So it's all laid out for you. And I think it's a great way for you to get started with your own fitness journey. Feel free to modify it as needed, but it could carry you for like a long time. So I would recommend to really check that out. I give some advice on nutrition, on supplements, on your mindset when it comes to all of this. So I think it's a really good guide to just have on your phone, and the workouts download directly to your phone as well, so you don't need to worry about like typing in anything. You can get that at farhanrana.com/workout. Download it, get it, and I think it'll be great resource for you guys. All right, so we're going to be talking about I think the way I titled this was that why you need to stop feeling bad about being obsessed and why it's actually a good thing for you. This is something that this is I think I was I was thinking of taking a shower or something. It just like kind of came to me about this whole notion of obsession and why um, there's basically two ways that people kind of approach this in like general society. Is that one, you have like the ultra achieving entrepreneur type kind of people who are like, you, even if they may not explicitly say it, they're just like, you just see that they're so obsessed with what they do. You have like the Gary V's, and you have all these kind of people who are just like, um, you just see them hustling like crazy, putting in like crazy amounts of work, um, and you respect them for what they do. But you ask yourself, as someone who's like maybe just working a normal 9 to 5 job, or you're someone who's trying to start their own business, and you're just like, do I really want to do that? Do I want to be working like 60, 70, 80 hours a week for something that's, for basically for financial achievement, or having that kind of ambitious goal in life. So you have that one end. On one of the spectrum, you have those kind of people, and on the other side of people side, you have people who are, not to say anything bad about them in terms of like them being like actual like people, but they don't really understand why you would want to be obsessed about anything. Their approach to life is, if I'm paying my bills, if I'm having a few luxuries in life, then why do I need to go any like a step beyond that? Like, why would I start like a side hustle? Why would I start a podcast? Like, why would I do any of this? If my life is more or less comfortable, then why do I need to worry about taking like the extra step, or like doing something crazy ambitious with my life? And it's not only that, that would be fine if they just kept it to themselves, but like they actually discourage people. And you might know people in your own family, or in your immediate circle, who are kind of like this. They, in subtle ways, they discourage others from being obsessed. They're just like, if you start, like, for example, if you start working out at the gym, and you're just like commit to 5, 6 times a week, you're like, why do you need to work out so much? Like, what is this? You went to the gym yesterday. Why do you need to? Why are you doing this? You should be focusing on other things in life. Um, and a part of it, and I think this is going to be generally true for these kind of people. And I'm saying nothing about them, like nothing bad about them. I have people in my own life who are like this, and it's not saying anything about them. It's just like they're not at that stage where some of us might be, in terms of like being on self development and all this kind of stuff. A part of it, and I think this is really true, is that it comes from a place of like them knowing, or them realizing that they didn't have the kind of success that they kind of wanted in their own life, or they're just like, you know they expect something out of you, and you going on your own path, which may be kind of different from what they expect. Maybe they expect you to be like a doctor or something, and really provide for the family and all that kind of stuff, but they see you doing this thing you're really obsessed about, and you really care about, and you're passionate about it, and you're just like, well, don't do that, because like that's not in line with what I expect out of you. So you kind of have that. So where, like, if you're someone like who's kind of in between these kind of things, you're just like, okay, I want to achieve something great in life, but is there any truth to what these people are saying in terms of like don't be too obsessed or anything? Or like what should I do? Like where do I fall on this? The first thing I want to tell you is that you need to stop thinking that obsession is a bad thing. First and foremost, we need to address that fact. Obsession is not a bad thing, assuming that you're obsessed about something that has a net positive. It's something that you're passionate about. It's something that you're just like constantly thinking about. It's one of those things where, like, if we take the gym as an example, you just got into this maybe a couple of months ago, and you're just so obsessed with like, okay, like I want to optimize my workouts. I want to have my diet on point. I want to be sleeping a good amount of hours per night. I want to be taking the right supplements, all this kind of stuff. And you're just like, so like, you're driven by the process. You're just like, I want to achieve so much in this one area of life. And part of you might be like, okay, am I being too obsessed with this? Like, some people might be saying this to you. You might be telling this to yourself. Like, is this what I'm doing? Is it actually good? You need to stop thinking that this is a bad thing. Like, just think about it. If you have made any significant progress in this area that you're just so passionate about, then why would it be a bad thing? Like, if you got to this point and you were single-mindedly focused on this one goal or this one pursuit, and you've actually made some decent progress with this, why do you think it's a bad thing all of a sudden? It's going back to those expectations, going back to those other people telling you. They're coming from a place of insecurity. They're coming from a place of like, oh, I could have done something great with my life. Like, why is he doing it? You need to, I'll talk about this notion in particular later on, but you need to block out those voices. And you need to understand that if you're just like so in love with this thing that you're doing, then just keep going. Then there's no reason for you to stop and think like, oh, it's a bad thing. And if you're worried that this will take up a lot of your time and you'll become one of those like super successful but like depressed entrepreneurs or like high achievers, then I think what you need to do is be really realistic about like understanding that, okay, I'm gonna expect myself to put in a certain amount of hours or effort or sacrifice some things to get to this goal, but it doesn't need to become the sole focus of my life. It might need to be in a certain season of your life for like maybe a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be. It might need to be, but it doesn't need to be the sole focus for the rest of my life. Maybe you get to a point 5 years from now where your next obsession is your family. Maybe you get married, you have kids. Your next obsession is like, okay, like I have these little human beings. I have this woman in my life. How do I nurture them? How to protect them? How to provide for them in the best way? And you're just like obsessed with that. You're just like always like thinking about, how do I raise my kids in the right environment? How do I teach them the lessons that I was never taught? How do I pass on the right traditions and cultural values to them? Religious beliefs, how do I transfer? Like, you probably get to this point in life, and I can't speak from experience, I'm just like kind of imagining what this is, but you might get to this point in life where you're just like, that's your sole focus. And it might be kind of forced, because you're kind of forced to, like, kids are like, they're going to demand attention from you. Like, you won't forget that your kids are like, they'll make it very known to you that they want your attention and they want you to care for them. So it's in a way, it's not so voluntary, but what I'm trying to say is that you'll get to this point in life where you'll have different obsessions. And the sad thing is that us men, how do I say this? Like, I think it's like part of society. And I think it's like a lack of like masculinity and manhood. We get to this certain points in our life, maybe when we're older, we're just like, I don't want to be obsessed about anything. Like, I'm doing just fine. I'm comfortable. Like, why do I need to go out and like achieve something great in my life? And that I can understand where you're coming from, but the greats of our history, like no matter like who you look at, they've always had like this mission at some point, with some kind of mission at every point in their lives, whether it was personal, whether it was family, whether it was like fighting and like doing good for their country, being like a preacher, like, anything of that sort. Like they always had something that they were involved in. I mean, you even hear stories of like people who are in their 70s and 80s who are just doing amazing things in life. They're utilizing the resources that they have to cover up for like their weakness or like the time they don't have. So I'm not saying that you need to be like alone and you need to be like a lone wolf when it comes to this, but you see even like older people, like elderly men who are still like trying to make their mark on life. They're trying to, because when we, and this is like a whole different episode. I do want to talk about this, like, but the reason why a lot of us feel like sad and depressed and lost is because we're not focusing on something. We're not putting our energies and our ambitions into action. We're not putting them out into the world. Like right now, when I'm doing this podcast, like I feel so alive. I was not able to do this last week because of like schoolwork, and my sleep schedule was off, and it's Ramadan, so like I have different things I'm focusing on. But this is, I would argue, is like, besides like working out in the gym, this is like the one time during the week where, like I'm just like so alive, like because I'm communicating. I'm so passionate about this. Like I'm obsessed about like getting to a certain number of episodes and really seeing like how much I've improved up until that point, how much you guys are benefiting, and how I'm creating this like manly mission community. And we're going to be doing so many amazing things. Like this is just the beginning. Like I'm just getting excited about this now. Like I wasn't even thinking about all these things before. But the point I'm trying to make is that if no matter where you are in life, and I'm assuming a lot of you guys are like around my age, you're 20 something, you need to get this idea out of your head that being obsessed is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. And this leads into my second point. Obsession is the only way that you're going to make any significant progress in life. Let me say that one more time. Obsession is the only way you're going to make any significant progress in life. If you're someone who has like been wishy-washy, you've been like kind of, you've dipped your toes into like different pursuits, you kind of worked out for a bit, or you kind of started like a content business, or like any other kind of business, you kind of did it for a bit, you were just like, okay, like, this is kind of hard, I don't want to do it. Or maybe like you're in school or you're on your job and you're just like, I could do more, I could, take it to the next level, I could get those, A's in class, or I could get, really work overtime or something for a couple of weeks or a couple of months and really get that promotion or whatever. But you just like not really put that kind of effort in, and you've just been like, okay, like why do I need to? Like I'm coasting along just fine. Like I'm doing just fine. I don't need to. I'm doing well financially. I don't need to worry about anything. Like that's that's a good position to be in. I'm not saying that, but I think what you're gonna find, and I think if you're being honest with yourself, you'll understand this too. There'll be a part of you that's just lacking. Like there'll be a part of you that's just like, why do I feel so unfulfilled? Why don't I have like something like a burning passion that I'm just working towards? It consumes my mind every single day, and it's just something that I'm just obsessed about. Maybe none of this applies to you because you're just not like a crazy obsessed person like me. But for anyone who is, you're gonna be at, if you're not doing what I just told you, like you're not pursuing, you're not making moves, you're not doing these kind of things, that you're just gonna feel like, what's wrong with me? Like I have everything physically in my environment. I have food, I have shelter, I have luxuries, I have entertainment, I have all these kind of things. Like I should be this happy person because I'm lacking nothing that I need to survive as a human being. But then why do I feel so off? Like what's wrong with me? Why do I find myself wasting time, or why am I like watching too much TV or Netflix, or like even doing like destructive habits like smoking or like drugs or anything? Like why am I turning to these kind of things when objectively I have everything in my life that I need to be quote unquote happy? It's because you're not obsessed. You don't have this mission in your life. It's going back to this whole manly mission thing. Part of what defines a manly mission is something that you're just absolutely passionate and obsessed with. And I'll even venture to say that it doesn't need to be the most productive thing either. Like you might think like, oh, like he's talking about like building like a six-figure business or like something like that. It doesn't need to be that. it could honestly be like, there was a point in my life in high school, the first summer after my high school, um, just before school ended that year, my first year. One of my friends, he played piano really well. We used to hang out after class, and he would play the piano in like this one auditorium we had, and I was just like, oh, that's really cool. Like, and he didn't really have time to teach me or anything. Like, he might have taught me like a little bit, or like how the piano worked. But I was just like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, I kind of want to learn how to play the piano, because this is gonna reveal the nerd in me. But like, there were so many like Naruto and Kingdom Hearts like tracks that like I wanted to play their piano like instrumental versions, because I was like obsessed with these kind of things. I kind of still am. Um, so I was like, okay, let me buy like a secondhand keyboard. Let me just like use that. And once I kind of got the hang of it, once I kind of started playing, I just became obsessed with like, okay, like how do I learn more advanced pieces? How do I learn? There's this like one new age artist that I was really listening to. You might know him, like Ludovico Einaudi. He's like this Italian composer, and like one of his pieces was just like so moving, and like was like it was all piano. It was like, how do I learn this? Like, this is so like, I just wanted to learn it. It got to a point where like I actually performed in front of my school, got like a standing ovation and everything. And but what I'm trying to say is that I was obsessed with learning piano in during high school, and what that resulted in was like, a me learning the pieces and feeling fulfilled in playing the pieces that I wanted to, and then b getting good enough to the point where like I was able to perform in front of my school, and get that kind of praise from people. And that wasn't my objective at all. My objective wasn't to like, oh, I want to do this till I get praise, or to have like people come up to me and be like, oh, you played really well. That wasn't the point. My point was, and it came from like almost like a childish place, was like, I want to learn these pieces which I've listened to in video games and cartoons, and I just want to be able to play them. And that started this journey of obsession. And you like, if you're listening to this and you're just like, okay, like I want to tap into that, then just go for it. Like, don't feel bad about like, oh, I'm being obsessed. Like, I should be studying, and I should obviously take care of your responsibilities. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you that you need to take care of your responsibilities. But if you have enough space, you have enough time, and you're able to negotiate some things, you're able to cut out some of these useless activities that you're doing, then obviously go ahead. Be obsessed about something, because that's going to give you life. That's going to fuel you. That's going to give you that kind of spark that you've been missing for so long. Another example. So I was studying for the MCAT, which in the US is the medical college admission test, back in April. Oh, so I took it in April of 2019, and I started seriously studying for it in January of that year. So for a solid 4 months, that was my sole focus. I was working at the time. I wasn't really going to the gym. That was probably a bad thing, because like, but the reason why I wasn't going to the gym was because I was like, I need to do amazing on this test. So every day going to work on the train, like I would be studying, I would be doing flashcards. During breaks in work, I would be studying flashcards again. I would be reading up notes. On the way back, same thing. Come back home, same thing after dinner. Study for a couple hours every Saturday. That's when my library would be open from my local library would open from 9 to 5. I would take like a practice test that would consume my whole day, because the test is like crazy. It's like 8 hours long. From 9 to 5 of Saturday, I would be taking the practice test. Sundays, I would be reviewing the practice test where I went wrong, studying a bit more. So it was just like this repeated process for like a good 4 months. I got like a really good score. There's a whole different reason why I didn't pursue, or like why I didn't get into medical school. Like, that's a whole different thing. Um, but what I'm trying to communicate is that, and it was just so crazy. Like, I was obviously, it sucked that I was studying for so long, and if something came up with my friends, there was some of my friends were going to Chicago in like January or February of that year, and I really wanted to go with them, but I was just like, I need to study for this. Like, I'm sorry guys, I really need to do this. Um, and so there was sacrifices that I made. I wasn't really seriously working out at that time, but I was like, I wanted to go into the gym and start like a proper program, and I didn't do that. Um, and there was these sacrifices I made with my time. I wasn't. Um, it was just a lot of stuff that I kind of had to let go. But what was crazy was that as soon as I was done with the test, I think it took like on April 13th, 2019, that Saturday, literally the next week after that, I was sad. I was just depressed. It was so crazy. There was a point I was like sitting like out on my lunch break, and I was just like I had nothing to do because up until that point, even my lunch breaks were just like I would eat like quickly, and I would study like flashcards or something. It was so bad. I was just like, I was at my lunch break. I still remember it. I was just like, it sounds really weird to say this, but like I wish I was studying for the MCAT right now. Even though I'd taken the damn thing, and I was pretty confident in my score. I was just like, man, like, why am I not studying for this MCAT? Why am I not doing that? Because it was just like this crazy, like this sprint for a solid 4 months. I took the thing, and then it just completely stopped. There was nothing else to fill that void. So, what I'm trying to say is that the only way you'll feel alive and the only way you'll have any amount of like spark and life and just like this feeling of like just feeling just alive is like if you're going to be obsessed about something, whether it's like super productive like studying for a like, professional exam, or it's like something like playing a piano, or like I don't know, maybe writing a book, whatever it might be. That's I'm gonna leave that to you. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but you have to feel obsessed about this, whatever you're gonna do, because that's the only way. And if you're worried about like, oh, like how do I get started, or what are the exact steps, you'll find them. Like if you're crazy enough to be obsessed about something, you'll find the steps that you need to take to become successful at this. Your naturally ideas will come to you. Like I said, the way this podcast came to me, this podcast idea was because I was taking a shower and I was just like, okay, what do I think about for my next episode idea? This just came to me. I was like, okay, I'm obsessed about my podcast. I should probably talk about why being obsessed is a good thing. So that's why we're here. Um, and the last thing is that as a protective mechanism, as a way to preserve this obsession, what should you do? You need to stop listening to people and need to stay away from ideas or people, honestly, who are telling you that you're being too obsessed. That's going to happen to you. People are going to be like, and they will mean well for you in terms of like how they're looking at this. They might be like, oh, why is he working out 6 times a week? Like, what's wrong with him? I'm worried he's going to get injured, or I'm worried like he's going to fall behind in his studies. I'm worried that if he's like writing this book, he's not going to have like an actual job or whatever. I mean, people are going to say all kinds of things to you, and part of you might be like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Like, I'll take it back a little. And that's like honestly making that's just compromising on your best self. That's compromising on your truest self. Right? If someone told me, and no one really has, it's like if someone told me like, oh, you need to stop doing this podcast thing, like focus on your studies, get like an actual job, all this kind of BS. And if I took their advice to heart and I was like, okay, let me just not do this for a couple of months, I would feel so bad. I would feel so down. Because this is the one thing, like I said, like besides fitness and besides everything else I do with my business, this is the one thing that's like actually giving me life. Because I'm imagining I'm talking to someone just like me, like a younger version of me. Someone I've been in their shoes, and I know what it's like I'm just like one or two steps ahead of them. I'm speaking to you, and I'm giving you my advice. I'm giving you hope. I'm giving you inspiration that you can be on your manly mission, and you can do amazing things with your life. If I did not do this, if I was just like, okay, let me just take it easy, just work 40 hours for someone else, do this all this kind of stuff, and I didn't do anything with my podcast, first of all, I would let myself down. Like, why did I listen to that? Like, I could have improved my speaking skills, my communication skills, my business skills. I could have improved them just by doing this, by putting out podcasts. And I'll be letting you guys down. If someone was looking up to me this whole time, and there was like, I was looking up to Farhan. Like, why did he stop putting out videos? Like, there were episodes where I just like listened to him throughout, and I was just like so in love with what he was saying, and I finally felt like I had a big brother. I'm getting emotional talking about this, man. I'm just imagining, like, I'm just like, I felt like somebody actually understood what I was going through. And why did he stop? Like, what's wrong with him? Did something happen to him? Like, is he just selfish? Like, did he just like, what happened to him, man? And I'll be letting you down if I did that. I would like to believe that there's someone, even just one person out there who's listening to me, who looks up to me as a big brother. I would like to believe that. And I would like to believe that as this channel grows, that there's going to be many people like this. People who will look to me as a brother. Someone who's made the mistakes, who's gone through the process, who has the values and the principles that you align with as well. So you can feel comfortable relating to them, and you don't have to be like, oh, like I don't know, like what he's talking about because he's of XYZ ideology, so I don't really perfectly relate to him. Like you you will relate to me and you'll look up to me. Not and I don't say this as a means of like pride or anything. You naturally will look to people who are like us and we want to follow them, we want to emulate them in a way that understands that they're imperfect human beings as well. So we will go at it with that perspective, that understanding. But it's like, who's perfect? Like anyone who's had a positive impact in our lives, whether it was our fathers, whether it was brothers, cousins, friends, coaches, teachers, whoever they were, we benefited from them. We understood that they were imperfect. Maybe they even made mistakes in their lives. And but we that still doesn't take away from the fact that there's people in our lives that we look up to. So going back to this whole point, if I'm not obsessed with this, if I because there's a lot that goes in the background of like, creating this. Like, for you, it's like I make this as easy as possible. You just listen to this. You probably listen to this like on when you're doing whatever. You probably just listen to the audio version of this. So this is the podcast. You're just like going about your day. You're traveling. You're studying, whatever, and you're just listening to this. And it's an honor for me to be in your ear, to be in front of you, to be talking to you like this. Um, so for me to just suddenly one day be like, listen to someone and be like, oh, you need to stop doing this because like this is not a real job. You're not getting paid for this, or some other like some lame excuse. Like I would feel so bad. I would feel terrible, not just for myself, but like that's gonna be there. I'm gonna feel like I lost a part of my life that was giving me so much energy and my vitality. But like I said, I'd be feeling bad because like I would be letting some of you, definitely one of you, down, and I can't allow that. There's enough lack of masculinity. There's enough lack of just positive role models, and there's a long way that I have to go on my own. There's a lot of improvements that I need to make on my own. But if I were to stop now, and if I never even got to the point where I made significant progress, I mean, then what was the point of even starting this? Well, it would be like giving false hope to someone. Like me coming out and be like, oh, like I'm preaching about this manly mission, and you guys should do X, Y, Z, and you should make this positive changes in your life, and for me to just like one day decide and quit. Like I would, I would lose your respect. If I were to come back, like you wouldn't see me the same way. You wouldn't respect me because you were like this guy. Like he preached about this manly mission, and he was like so like he was talking about all these grand ideals, and he just like quit because someone told him like this podcast is it doesn't pay you. It definitely pays, man. You can make it pay. You can monetize anything today. That's just this whole different episode. And I'm not someone qualified to talk about this right now because I'm still working to monetize a lot of these different things. But there are ways to make money. If that's a complaint you're getting from a lot of people, and this might be something that I'll encounter as well. There's ways to make way more money with unconventional things like this than like sitting in an office and like just doing some corporate job, and you're just sitting there wasting your life and not producing anything. You're being sapped of your ambition and your life. So I mean, this is going to be a totally different thing, but like I really respect people who like go out, do they take a risk and they do something that really brings life to them, even though like they understand that money and financial stability or whatever, that's going to they're playing the long game with that. But in the short term, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, they just feel alive. I really respect that. And I hope that things work out for them, honestly. Because to be well compensated for what you're doing, and to be fulfilled, and to be making positive impact, and to just create something that's amazing, that's a community that lives outside of you. Like honestly, I would feel honored like when we get to a point, maybe 100 episodes in, or like maybe by the end of this year, where like I've created like a community where guys are actually talking to each other. We're just doing collaborations with big people. We're doing like amazing things, and like this, like you're becoming part of like a movement, and I'm encouraging you to like start your own thing and to create your own, go out on your own Melly mission. I mean, it's just going to be this amazing thing that happens by the end of this year, inshallah. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I don't have like a clear pathway to it, but like I said, if you're obsessed about something, things will come to you, ideas will come to you out of nowhere. People will come to you who will really just be the determining factor in taking your pursuit to the next level. All of these things will happen. But all of this will stop, all of this will cease, all of this will halt and come to just end if you let people tell you that you're being too obsessed, or what you're being obsessed about is the wrong thing. I do not want that for you. You need to, if someone telling you that, you need to just out inward, you're out there, don't listen to them, don't be around them. For me, I need to definitely be very careful with that, because like I'm responsible to you. There's people who are looking up to me. I need to be responsible to you guys, so I need to definitely be more careful with this. And it's bad enough when a ton of men are just like unfulfilled. They're just like they're just like robbed of their masculinity. There's like different things. It's not just obsession. It's about like their physical health, their identity, their self-image, all these just different things that are going into this. Um, there's a lot of things that are like just crashing at us in terms of like robbing us of like us being men. So it's bad enough, and then for us to like start on something, make even like a little bit of progress, and then stop because like, come on, man, like I can't afford that. I can't afford that for myself, and I can't afford that for you either. So if you were at any point thinking of like, oh, like let me be a little reasonable. I hate this word reasonable. I hate it so much. Like, what did reasonable get anyone? I know this is going on a totally different tangent, but what did being reasonable get for any like man that we respect, either immediately or in history? Like people, men who were like we look to as heroes, as legends. They were, if they were reasonable, they're maybe they were like generals, maybe they were like commanders, maybe they were like people who were like tribe leaders or whatever. If they were reasonable and they quit doing being a little bit obsessed and providing for their community, protecting their people, their people would have been wiped out. Their tribes would have been taken over. Their towns would have been ransacked if they were like, let me be reasonable. You have to be a little crazy. You have to be a little bit obsessed. It could mean, it doesn't have to mean this way right now, but it did mean in the past. If you were not that crazy person who stood up, took charge of that community, and you did the things that no one else was willing to do because you saw the greater vision, you saw the greater threat, that community would have been wiped out. They would have been gone. It would have been bad. Lives lost. Just terrible destruction. All because someone did not step up. And it's because they stepped up, it's because they took that leadership role, that their community, their people had a fighting chance. And maybe they survived, maybe they thrived even. Why should we give up on that heritage that it's almost genetic at this point? Like we have that inside of us. Why should we give that up and not create greatness for ourselves in our own lives? It's within all of us. We all have greatness. Like I don't care what you've been through. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how old you are. You have greatness in you. If it has not been tapped into, that's your responsibility. You need to tap into that. And I'm going to do my part to like encourage you, to give you examples, to talk about my own experiences, my own journey. But you have it inside of you to be great. If there was any part of you that was just like, I don't think you can do this. I don't care how hard your life is. I don't care how many responsibilities you have. You have it inside you to be something great. in your own way. You don't need to be like this amazing, like, this 8-figure business entrepreneur. You don't need to do anything like that. You need to be a world-class athlete. If that's not your thing, you don't need to do that. But you have greatness inside of you, and you know what it is. You have it at least loosely defined in your own mind. Now it's just about like being honest with yourself and understanding that you need to put in the work. You need to be obsessed. You need to not care so much about what people think. You need to stop being reasonable for a little bit. People tell you start being reasonable. I'm telling you stop being reasonable. Stop being so reasonable. Be a little unreasonable. Be a little audacious, a little crazy, a little courageous. Be a little bit of that. And I promise you it's going to make all the difference in your life. You're going to thank me if you take any amount of steps towards this, if you make any progress and you come back to this 3 months later, you're going to thank me. You can be like, yeah, like he was, Farhan was kind of right. He's a little crazy in the head when he talks about this, but he was right. Because I just feel so much alive. I made so much progress. Like I feel better. People actually respect me because like they see me as someone who's like a productive member of society now. So someone who's just like self-absorbed and like feeling down and like just having self-pity. Like this is gonna be a net positive in your life. I'm telling you. All right, guys. So I don't even know how long this episode went. I just started talking. And I love that fact. It's just like I could show you, like I literally just have like intro, like the stuff I have to say in the beginning, 3 bullet points. That's all I have. And it's crazy that I got to this point because like I still remember when I was trying to plan my first episode, I had this like long drawn out like bullet points and like examples and like now say this and like talk about this and like don't forget to say this. Like I had this like crazy thing. It would be interesting to see like what my first script looked like. Now I'm just like three bullet points, and the rest like I'll just like whatever comes to me will come to me. And the fact that it's like one take, like I don't do any edits with this. Like the most I do is just like cut out like the beginning and ends, where like there's like gaps when I'm like setting everything up. Maybe like do some color corrections, whatever. I just do like the most basic thing. I don't edit this at all. So this is one take. It's just crazy like how much like I've improved since that point. Like I started in January. It's been 4 months now. It'll be about 5 months in just like 2 weeks in May. It's just made so much progress in terms of like how I've communicated. And if this is any motivation to you, I want you to use it. I want you to look up to it and just start doing the things that you need to do in your own life, bro. Because you can do it. You can absolutely do it. If no one's told you, I'm telling you, you have greatness in yourself and you can do it. And you can do amazing things in life, man. All right, we're going to wrap it up right there, guys. Do want to remind you to continue giving, to continue subscribing, liking, sharing, all that kind of good stuff. If you're listening to this on podcast, give me your honest rating, follow. I don't exactly know how podcast works when you're like following or whatever. Definitely do whatever you can to support the channel. I really do appreciate it. I'm looking to grow the community as much as possible by the end of this year, inshallah, for sure. It would be crazy to get to like multiple thousand number of subscribers or whatever. That's not my goal, honestly. My goal is just if I can come out of this by the end of this year having inspired one person to change their life, to have like a before and after kind of thing happen to them, that would have been the success of this. That would have been my manly mission accomplished. But that why stop there? We're just gonna take this. We're gonna make it big. All right, guys. So once again, we do want to remind you of my 7-day workout plan. It has everything that you need to get started. You can get it at farhanrana.com/workout. I'll leave a link in the description below. You can just tap on that. You can get it. And we're going to wrap it up right there. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I'm really excited for how this is going. I'm really excited for you, the progress you're going to make. And this is going to be an amazing journey that we're on. And I'm just so looking forward to everything. This is episode 18 of the Manly Mission Podcast with your host, Farhan Rana. And until next time, take care, guys.